Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Hockey Family Podcast. Again, lucky to be joined by another fantastic guest, Paul Ysebaert, the Rocket Man, as he
The
was
Rocket Man.
duly dubbed, I think, from his Red Wings days. But a great conversation, a guy that's had, a fantastic career, and a lot of great life advice. And as always, to be joined with my D partner from college, the founder of the Hockey Wealth Group, Johan Kroll. And I think you really enjoyed one of Ysey's, stories about a kind of a profound weekend that he had as a teenager.
Yeah, kind of early in our conversation. He brought up a weekend as a young kid where Mike Crombeen brought him up to train and kind of running in the sand and just how profound one weekend in your can be for the rest of your life, right? And he talked about learning lessons for both what it was going to take to be a hockey player, and also just in terms of his faith. So I really enjoyed kind of that first part of the conversation in particular to hear about that weekend that Ysey experienced as a young kid.
Yeah, it's amazing to think just like one weekend how it could have that much of an impact, on your life forever. And
Yeah.
hopefully he reaches out to Mike after this, as he said he would.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, talking about the pension stuff and really like what brought Izzy, to us into our lives, obviously, and it's become a big passion, a passion project, on my behalf and our behalf of helping these guys and just kind of getting the word out because it was a problem that we weren't even aware of if you go back 5 years, right? But
Mm-hmm.
now to know that so many guys are get to the age where they start thinking about accessing those pension funds and then find out that they have a really hard time just getting answers, right? And really
Mm-hmm.
finding out enough resources, what their options are with those funds. And, it's something that we've dug into very deeply. So we know kind of back and forth now, but so it was fun getting into that. And just obviously it's a tip of the iceberg, but yeah, it was fun to talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Good conversation.
Yeah, great conversation. So again, as always, thank you guys for joining us, and I hope that you enjoy the episode.
Another fight. Behind the play, the gloves are down. It's Orr and Strachan. And Orr landing a couple of big rights.
Strachan lost control at the end of that.
And this is Strachan's first bout. And he has, I believe, been cut on the nose.
Down on the ice they go as McCormick teed off on Tyson Strachan.
Everybody, welcome to another episode of the Hockey Family Podcast. I'm Tyson Strachan, and as you just heard in those clips, me getting the crap pounded out of myself. Always fun to hear, but some of those tougher mistakes that I learned on the ice, I guess, during my career. And the whole point of this podcast is to get fantastic guests like we have today, guys that played the game and have the experience and just get to listen to their stories and get to hear them, talk about advice that they were given along the way. And hopefully it helps some younger guys avoid some of those mistakes that us older guys did make along the way. So as always, joined by my D partner from college, Johan Kroll.
Yeah, thanks, Rex. Really excited to have the Rocket Man, Paul Ysebaert, on the Hockey Family Podcast. Ysey, a guy with well over 500 NHL games played, over 11 years in the National Hockey League. Played college hockey at Bowling Green, came up with the Devils, a good bit of time in Detroit with the Red Wings, a couple stints with the Jets and Blackhawks, and then finished down in Tampa Bay with the Lightning. We pulled up the Hockey DB, 75 points. I think it was the 91-92 season, plus 44. Definitely no green jacket there. And it's just fun to have Ysey on. Last few guests were kind of guys, Strax and I, old teammates. And so fun to have Ysey here, a guy that, a couple years older than us. We watched playing growing up. So thanks a lot for joining us and taking the time, Ysey, here on the Hockey Family Podcast.
Yeah, not a problem, boys. You're a lifesaver.
I don't know about that. Let's address this tooth right away. I just smiled for the first time and saw that right before recording this, I decided to have lunch and then half my tooth's gone. So don't worry about that, people.
Yeah, and I was saying how you just need the implants. You just get them all ripped out like the oral surgeon did when I took this stick to the face. But
yeah, you also you talked me out of taking the crazy glue to it right before.
Yeah. Strax was gonna crazy glue. He's gonna super glue his tooth back on before we pressed record here, Ysey.
I still don't see the fault in that, Ysey.
Typical.
You had a crazy
That's
glue.
typical.
Yeah. I don't know. My dad, that's all he uses, duct tape and crazy glue. Every time he gets cut, he's just crazy glue, crazy glue. Go see a doctor, Dad. Nope, crazy glue. We got her. That's all you need. So, Ysey, we've known each other a few years now. Happy to have you on the podcast today. You've taken Yogi and I out golfing a few times and spanked us around the course. You're down in, you finished your career down in Tampa and enjoyed that weather too much, so you stuck around that area.
Yeah, down in Sarasota now. Been here for probably 7 years. Went back home. Went to Switzerland after my NHL stint for a year. Wish I would have stayed. I was probably young and dumb and fed up with the politics of hockey, but went back home, had 2 beautiful girls, and things didn't work out family-wise, but still have them in my back pocket. They live in my hometown, Sarnia, Ontario. And then they were supposed to be down here, still waiting for them to come down here. But met a great gal here and, set up shop in Sarasota.
I love it. Yeah, it's a beautiful area. You got a great golf course there that you've been very nice and that had us out a couple times, which is great.
Yeah, one of my that was, gosh, I struggled that weekend we were down there. I wish I had a good excuse, but just bad golf. I think you were blaming it on the greenskeeper at the time. I don't remember.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, he's gone. And we got a new greenskeeper now. It's a great club. It's the closest thing I can get back to a locker room, all men's club. Lots of gambling games going on there as far as golf goes. And they're shutting it down in April. For 9 months, they're regrassing everything and moving some bunkers different ways, planting some new trees. Lost a lot of trees in the hurricane. But just a fun place to play. No pretenses. We got guys that belong to the course too. Only 250 equity members. There's a billionaire Bill, and then there's Paul Ysebaert walking in the door. So it's and everybody gets treated the same. It's great.
That's great.
Yeah, it is a great group of guys there. It's been fun every time we're down. Yogi's complaining about his golf game. I don't think I've played a good round that I've been there, but I don't play enough anymore. So I'll get back to it eventually here. Yeah. Yogi, you want to jump right in? Let's get on with it.
Yeah. So Ysey, as you know, that this podcast is all about just kind of sharing wisdom and lessons we've learned. And, we always like to start with hockey, right? It's kind of the common denominator of everyone on the show and what we're passionate about, what we love. And so just first question today is, what's the best advice you ever received in your hockey career?
Well, there's a lot of them, that's for sure. Growing up in Sarnia, I don't know what the area has produced. Man, they produced a lot in that Lambton County area, just at the base of Lake Huron in Ontario. You had the 300 brothers, Pat Verbeek, Brian Hislop, Jamie Hislop. We had Tony McKegney, a couple other guys. Oh, Mike Crombine, who's my cousin. He was there. Bobby Gould. All these older players that I grew up with. I worked out at 13. I worked out at the same gym, and watch them work out in getting in shape for the next season was an eye opener for me. There was a puke bucket right in the middle of the gym, and Hislop was the best shape I've seen any hockey player in. 1,000 sit-ups and push-ups a day, kind of like a Bo Jackson ish. But so many people gave me advice. One of their advices was, this is how hard you have to work, buddy, to make it to the NHL, and to stay in the NHL is even harder. Be the first guy there and the last guy to leave was a good quote, lesson learned. And then the other one was always know that there's someone doing more than you in their skill set, whatever it is. Maybe just as fine as working on your backhand. Somebody's working harder than you doing that. Someone's working harder than you training. That was very eye-opening, and I kept that in the back of my head all the way through my hockey life, actually. And so I tell young kids nowadays, always know there's somebody doing more than you, so to better themselves in the game of hockey.
Yeah, that's such a blessing, obviously, to grow up in an area like that where you got to be surrounded by that many great hockey players and get to see them. I'm always so jealous of the guys that I played with that had kids, that were in the locker room every day, right? They got to be around that. I was lucky enough to play with Kachuk, his last year. Now he's got two boys that are, wearing letters in the National Hockey League, right? Like what a way to grow up, to be able to see how hard the guys work and stuff, and just be around that all the time. I didn't realize that Mike Crombine was your cousin, so I played with BJ.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I played with Beener in St. Louis, so I didn't realize. I didn't put that together until now.
Mike actually, that was my mother's brother. That's how Mike became my cousin. Obviously, they had 5 boys. Rocky, BJ's his son. But Mike actually grabbed a hold of me right around 12, 13 and brought me up to his cottage where he ran in the sand in Grand Bend, Ontario. And he sat down and, he's a big Christian. I grew up Catholic. He grew up Catholic as well. I think all the Dutchmen that came over were Catholic at the time, but he really got me into my beliefs in Christianity. And I still remember this day, that weekend, that set me off. And if I didn't have that weekend, things might have turned out differently, because I'm a firm believer, and he was a big part of it. he's probably somebody I should call. I've called every coach that coached me just to thank him for the advice and the just the knowledge, whether it be small or big. And there's guys that wouldn't even know my novice high school or my novice coach in the house league. I mean, pushed me to go to the A team, the travel team. And I remember going in the car with my dad. It was 20 minutes away to patrol the ice rink. Try my first game out at age 7, novice A. And I started crying halfway there. And I said, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And Dad said, swore in Dutch, "Hut verdamme, youngin', we're over halfway there. We're going." So he kind of kicked me in the locker room. And little did I know that everybody I went to school with, everybody I hung out with playing on this team. I didn't even know it. Right? We ended up winning the All Ontario that year. And that's kind of set me off. But all these people who touch your lives is a big part of where I got to in hockey, for sure.
No, that's great,
awesome.
Ysey.
Yeah,
that's great.
I remember that. Sorry, Yogi. I remember that thought. That it was kind of overwhelming after my first NHL game. I think the trainers almost had to pull the equipment off me because I kind of sat in my stall there, and it wasn't so much thinking about myself. It was thinking about all of those people that had helped you kind of get there, right? From your family members to all the coaches and stuff along the way, teammates, etc. And it's just such a fulfilling feeling, right? And not just feeling it on your own behalf, right? But thinking that you'd kind of done it for all of those people along the way.
Yeah. So Mike, getting back to my point, my cousin Mike Crombie, and I need to give him a shout because that was a big weekend in my life, and you don't realize it until you look back on it, right?
Right. Oh, that's fantastic.
That's beautiful. And then Ysey, of course, you did make it, right? You played at the highest level with the best players in the world, and you kind of transition and obviously playing in the NHL and having all the opportunities in the world. And second question we always like to ask guys is just in terms of what's the best financial advice or lesson you learned in terms of your financial pursuits later in life there?
Well, there wasn't much of them, I'll tell you that. I cannot recall somebody sitting me down. Like in today's world, I'm trying to teach my girls, how the banking world works, how to save money until they get a real job, and what's it like to get a real job. Now they're getting a W-2, right? So all that stuff was never taught to me. And even, I learned the hard way, I guess. Some good decisions, some bad decisions. When you're in that spot as an NHLer, people are always tugging on you. Here's a good deal. Here's a good deal. Well, it sounds good. It's just like, anybody else in the stock market. Do they really know what they're doing, or buy this stock and invest in this business and that business? Well, it's all for maybe their well-being because you're a name and they want to put you on the board or whatever, right? So I never got any kickback from anyone basically throughout my whole career. When my agent took care of my money, I trusted him. Always knew where my money was. I didn't know how it was invested at all until I retired. And here's my lump sum. Then I said, okay, I'm moving back to Canada. Have to change a lot of things from U.S. to Canadian dollar. And then you got to put it somewhere, right? So I found Scotia McLeod was very good to me out of London, Ontario. I worked with 2 financial advisors that were just like literally my mom and dad. So they kept it safe, little risk here, little risk there. And um, but then things change in your life, right? I mean, I've been through 2 divorces, um, which isn't fun, but it happens. And then you have to regroup again. And that's probably where I found you guys is I'm scrolling through because I need some liquid cash and I didn't want to keep it in Canada. I'm going to settle here in Florida now, so I got to change it over. And I could not get an answer from the NHLPA, or sorry, from the NHL Pension Society. Everything was a big gray area until I found you guys. And if it didn't say Players Wealth Group, I probably wouldn't have clicked on the button, but I did. And that's when I got a hold of Strack. And he did all the hard work and legwork that I couldn't do. And because I wasn't getting the right answers because I'm a player and he was too, but now he's working for me. So we get down to the nitty gritty and it happened, which I'm very thankful for you guys. And then you start anew again, right? So we're going here forward at age 57 and move forward with the investments that you guys do. And I couldn't be happier. I mean, there was not one, and I've called a lot of people, believe me. I called high-end financial advisors in Chicago, New York, Boston, and they'd go through the whole rigmarole of calling the pension society, and they're like, well, I think I know 80% of it, and there's still a gray area here and a gray area there that I'm not quite sure what it means, and blah, blah, blah. Well, you guys took care of it, and I'm very, very appreciative of that.
Well, we're happy that you found that button to click and did it and found us. It's been something that, unfortunately, you're not the only person that's come to us in that situation, and myself as a player, I know that when I played and I retired and I walked away and I just had this peace of mind thinking, wow, I've got this great pension, right? And I'll think about that in 40 years, right?
Yeah.
And that's all you and that is the majority of how people think about it. And then through being contacted from yourself and a few others in similar situations, I was I was very caught off guard to find out that, like you mentioned, you and these other people had been reaching out to every different type of resource that you could find, from the pension society to CPAs, etc., and nobody could seem to give you the answers that you needed and let you know what options that you had with that.
So true.
It was, our whole thing is obviously just we want to help hockey guys, right? So when I heard that story the first time from somebody before you, I said to that person, I said, if you just trust me, I said, I don't know the answer, but I guarantee you, if you just bear with me, I'll find the answer out, and it took some doing, that's for sure. So it seems like a carefully guarded secret that it shouldn't be, right? Like that's
our money
that you earned, you worked very hard for. When it comes time that you need it, those options that you have, they should be readily available to you. And it seems like there's some systems in place that are working in the opposite direction, right? Whereas they should be advocates for the players.
That's right.
And
they're not.
That's too bad.
And they're not.
No.
That speaks volumes for the whole financial society. It's all about them. They don't want you to take the money out. before you need it. Well, I need it now, so how do I do it? And then they make it very hard. And you guys work through it all. Couldn't have done it without you. It takes a lot of time. Now you know what buttons to push. And I suggest anybody who needs to take it out early, which I did, that to call you guys and because you know what buttons to push. It'll happen a lot quicker.
Well, there's a lot more options than people realize, for sure. There's been a lot of iterances of what we all consider the pension, right? Like the pension has actually been a string of pensions over the years, and it does get complicated, right? When you're talking cross-border and all of these different things that go into it. So every single player's situation is unique, but there are a set of rules that are applied to it, and there are options for those guys to access those funds. And it doesn't even you don't need to wait until it's a need, right? Like those are your funds, and there are options, with limitations, obviously, but there are options for people to access those funds and get them, to a place and invest it the way that they want them to be and maybe should be. So yeah, it's we appreciate you, obviously, saying those nice things about us, but it's something that we just kind of want to broadcast to the world, that there's other guys in your boots, right?
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I think it's just we're just advocates. I think we wish there was more education, right? Just having for guys to be aware of what you cannot do, depending on when you played, where you played, what the pension rules were at that time. So. Yeah, and so Ysey, the last question we like to ask, and you can take this wherever you want to go, but best advice you ever received for life in general?
Oh, yeah, that's a good tough question there. Life in general is, be who you are. That's one of the things that I probably got from my dad was, everybody knew who my dad was, meaning not his name or they just knew him because he was real, never lied. He stood for what he stood for. So there's no pretenses. He wasn't back and forth at all, ever. And I know, and sometimes in business and sports, you got to put on your happy face and be cordial one way or another. A good example is I helped coach, if you want to put it into hockey terms, I helped coach U18s here for a year. And of course, every parent thinks their kid's going to make to the NHL, no matter if they're 3 years old or on skates and whatever. And some of them do, but there's only 700 and some players in the NHL every year, so it's in the whole world. So, but the parents asked me, he's going to play Division I at so and so. I said, I don't think so. And that's the way my dad would be, very blunt. He couldn't even make the club team right now. and should have seen the look on the parents' face. I go, I'm just telling you the truth. He's 18 years old. I mean, get his schooling, no question. He's a good kid, blah, blah, blah. But as far as hockey goes, it's a sport that very few people get to excel in. And if he likes it, keep playing. I mean, I'm not going to, but I'll just tell you right now, he's not playing Division I. And needless to say, I wasn't an assistant coach at U18 very long after that.
Just building those dreams up,
parents,
Ysey.
yeah, the parents want to hear what they want to hear. Well, that's not who I am. And that's not who my dad was. There's no pussyfooting around. You tell it like it is and move on, right? He'd tell me that in games. And I loved the coach that told me, hey, you're not doing this, and you think you're working hard, but you're really not. And I'll show you on tape type of thing, right? So just be who you are. I've kept that. You keep your integrity, be truthful, and it doesn't diminish your confidence as a person or what you do in work or business. Just be who you are. And there's no, if somebody doesn't like you, it's okay. They'll pretend to like you. Well, that's okay too. I don't really care, and you shouldn't either, right? And I would say I've cut my list of people I surround myself with. It keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And when I was playing hockey, it was huge, right? Because you're very cordial to everyone, because that's the way we were brought up. Say hi, say hello, shake a guy's hand, shake a woman's hand, right? That's what you did. And then after a while in the apple, you see who's hanging on to you, who's not really, or there on certain occasions and then not. They always wanted something from you. And I'm a giving person. I probably gave too much credit to a lot of people, but that's the way I was brought up. But looking back, my circle was really big, and then when I was inactive, it got a little smaller, and then a little smaller again, and before you know it, it's just you and your tight-knit group. And I think that's the way successful people in businesses work. You surround yourself with good people that have the same goals and beliefs, and you make it work. Yeah. And that comes in, and I won't even get to relationships because that's a whole different story. You never know what the next day will bring, but as long as you're yourself, you can go to sleep with peace at night.
Yeah, I think that's great. Out of all the things, because like you said, it is such a broad question, but if you can find out, who you are as a person and walk through life, that way, you're not going to look back with a lot of regrets, right? There's going to be mistakes, you make mistakes all the time, but that list is endless. But I don't look back on a lot of those things and dread over them or anything, right? They were learning lessons, and as long as I know that I carried myself, with integrity, etc., then I can kind of look at it with pride. So yeah. I relate to that a lot.
That's great, Ysey. You want to share with Hockey World some of the new ventures, things you're working on today?
Yeah, I'm gonna get into a little. I wanted to do a podcast. Then COVID hit. It was going to be like an on ice thing. I've got a million stories. I played with a lot of great players, and just the characters in the dressing room are endless. Every team, Strax, you'd know this, and both of you would. There's so many stories that I'd like to put out there. And then there's some you really can't say on a podcast, or, I probably would have been, put it this way, I probably would have been terminated on the podcast with some of the stories, but they're real. I mean, it happened. So here it is, I'm kind of going to dabble in some apparel with hockey sayings with MyFunda. It's myfunda.com. We're setting up the shop on Shopify, and just different sayings, high quality material that hockey players may like, other people in other sports may like, everyday people may like, just to just express what a great game hockey is. And it is. It captures everything. I mean, every sport's a little different in a different way. But hockey encapsulates, I think, everything in life, and yeah. So I got some good sayings, a lot of them, and a lot more keep coming to mind. I've got about a book full of them that I could put on, nice shirts, Carhartt shirts, and Travis Green for golf and whatnot. And that's kind of, everybody wants to wear a different hat. Nobody wants to wear Titleist all the time. So you put in a little saying here and there, and it may venture into, politics and, you know, um, different sports. So we're dabbling in that, and I'm going to see how it goes. But it's myfunda.com, and reap the benefits, I hope, and some more investments for you guys.
Well, we're excited to see it get going. I think you should maybe revisit that podcast idea, because I can vouch for the amount of stories that you have, and I always enjoy listening to them. And the nice thing about running a podcast is it's hard to get canceled when you own the podcast.
That's true.
You're not going to fire yourself, are you?
Yeah. I'm just doing it by myself, and it'll start out with like the 30 seconds, a minute, whatever. See how many followers I get. When I first put it out there, 2-3 years ago, man, I had a lot of hits saying, "Can't wait for your on ice or off ice podcast." Blah blah blah. I think I'll still use that name, Off Ice. That'll be one of the maybe a hat I'll get together and fab it up a bit. But it'll start out short and sweet. And I actually had when you get traded, as you know, Strax, the mail goes to the next team, and then you get traded again, the mail goes to the next team. So I ended up, after my career, I went to Switzerland, so I didn't even know when I got home. One day I'm looking at my mother's, dad was gone, then mom's crawl space. She had this big, huge bin. I mean, it's like 4 feet by 2 feet deep, and it was all fan letters that had accumulated, and then they started sending it to her because I was in Switzerland, right? So I don't even know if these people are still alive. They probably moved, but I'm gonna maybe open up a few of those letters, and they're coming from all over the world. It's I couldn't believe it when I seen it, and I brought it here to Florida. And actually, I had some people on that contact me through Facebook and whatever that they'll help me with it, but I'm not sure how that's going to go. But I'm going to start opening up those. I may start the podcast out, open up a few of those letters, and if you're out there, here's my card. I'm going to sign it, and I'm sending it to this. You got another email or another address, let me know.
Yeah.
So yeah, awesome. Hockey's worldwide, as you know, and we got a lot. I remember sitting on a plane on a West Coast trip. It was a 12-day West Coast trip, and I sat by Stevie Y. Ysebaert, and he was signing cards because, when I was getting few and far in between, I was a rookie, for crying out loud. So I wasn't getting very, very much fan mail, and he had stacks of it. And so I'd be the guy to open the letter up, boom. If it was it's just please sign it, or it was like a long story from a kid, from a kid who was in the hospital, from an adult who was overseas or whatever in the Army. And I just slide them the cards, and I'd be the one to stick them in the envelope and seal it. We did that from Detroit on Redbird 1 to L.A. He not constant, nonstop signing cards, and he still had hundreds of more to sign.
Yeah.
Well, that opened my eyes up. I'm going, holy crow! People follow hockey. Period.
Oh yeah, that is for sure. Well, lots to look forward to then. I'm excited for all this. Let's get it going.
We have to get some shirts for the boys at the office here. We got to get on their Strax and pick out a saying or two and order some shirts up here for the office.
I'll send you some Rocket Man shirts.
Yeah,
we'd like that.
Yeah, I think I came back from the last trip with a Rocket Man shirt, didn't I?
You did.
You did.
Yeah, I forgot about it. I gotta
pull
that
out
out of the truck. I gotta start rocking.
Don't get rid of Arnold Palmer, but throw it right in the middle there.
Yeah, I'll get it up there somewhere. Perfect. Well, perfect. Well, Ysey, as you know, we love you. We appreciate you jumping on today and sharing some advice for these young fellas. Hopefully it helps somebody avoid a mistake along the way here.
I hope so. I hope so. You guys are the best. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Ysey. We really appreciate you taking the time. We'll have to get down and play golf again.
Do it sooner than later.
Through this podcast, the information provided by the Hockey Wealth Group is for educational purposes only and does not constitute financial, tax, or legal advice. You should consult a financial professional familiar with the specific circumstances of your unique financial situation before making any financial decisions. Nothing in this broadcast constitutes a solicitation for the sale or purchase of any securities. Any mentioned rates of return are historical or hypothetical in nature and are not a guarantee of future returns. Johan Kroll, CFA, CFP, and Tyson Strachan, MBA, are investment advisor representatives of Oceanside Advisors DBA, the Hockey Wealth Group, an SEC-registered investment advisor.